the kind of love that make a man lose his mind. You got to do something, you know that you're mine. You're looking good, so good, girl. You're looking, I know that you would, yeah. Ow! Mama get you yo-yo, Papa get you gun. Gonna steal your daughter, I'm gonna be your son. You're looking good, so good, girl. You're looking good, I know that you would, yeah. Ow! Blow your horn. Never had a keyboard. Woo! Oh, do it! Look at here. When you call my name, baby, call me Mr. Clean. You got the kind of love that I ain't never seen. You're looking good, so good, girl. You're looking good, I know that you would, yeah. Y'all give me some of this now. Ow! Fade it out. Back by the syndicator, standing all around the door. Back by the syndicator, standing all around the door. And it whispered every day, hoping I had your way to stay.
Good morning, gentlemen, citizens of Tampa. Tampa City Council now come to order for a regular agenda meeting for September 30th, 2021. I think we had the invocation by Mr. Dingfeld, who's downstairs, but I think Mr. Carlson is going to do the introduction this morning.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to welcome Rabbi Stephen Weiler to City Council this morning. Rabbi Weiler was born in Manhattan to Jewish parents who had escaped Vienna, Austria during the Holocaust. He received a bachelor's degree in music education from Peabody Conservatory of Music and a master's degree in education from Johns Hopkins University while teaching at an inner city high school for 4 years. In 1999, he moved his family to Tampa to become the rabbi of Shoresh David Messianic Synagogue. Rabbi Weiler is frequently on WTBN radio in the Tampa Bay area And Rabbi Steve is blessed with a wonderful wife, Pat. They have 2 daughters and 4 beautiful grandchildren. And he has a much longer bio, and the shorter version doesn't do him justice. But thank you so much for joining us this morning and for your leadership in our community. If we all please stand for the invocation and then for the pledge.
Thank you for allowing me to bring today's invocation. It's an honor for me to be here. Will you bow your head as I pray? Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King. Thank you, Lord, for all who are gathered here today. Thank you, Lord, for your abundant blessings as you have placed us in a wonderful city and a wonderful country. Thank you, Lord, for each one of these council members who give their abilities to the betterment of the city of Tampa. Thank you, Lord, for their abilities, their calling, and their response to that calling. Lord, direct these council members to carry on their responsibilities with integrity as they are leaders in our community that we respect and look up to. Lord, even though there might be diversity in opinions, I pray that there will be unity and respect between the council members and also great respect for anyone who will address them today. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us to live in a country that supports freedom of speech. May each one of us show you our appreciation by using our gifts that you have given us with grace, mercy, and love. We thank you for first demonstrating those attributes to us. In the scriptures, we read that we are all to obey the governing authorities which you, Lord, have established to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, I pray for all our local leaders, including Mayor Castor, all our city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I ask that you bless them with wisdom, compassion for all people, and real joy for doing a job well done. I pray for today's agenda that everything will go well and that the decisions made will be fruitful and benefit all those living in the city of Tampa. I pray this in your precious name, in the name of Yeshua, in the name of Jesus, our Messiah. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Carlson.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Dingfelder. Citro.
Here.
Vieira.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
And Gould.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Did we get Mr. Vieira? I think he just walked in the door. All right. Mr. Shelby, please.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of City Council and the public. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Today is Thursday, October 7th, 2021, and we're here at Old City Hall. And this meeting of the Tampa City Council is being conducted with a live in-person quorum of the City Council present in the City Council chambers. However, in light of the continuing COVID-19 government-issued health standards or guidance in effect, members of the public have the ability to participate virtually through video teleconferencing, referred to by Florida statutes and rules as Communications Media Technology, or CMT. The public is able to watch, listen, and view this meeting on cable TV, Spectrum Channel 640, Frontier Channel 15, and on the internet at tampa.gov/livestream, one word. Now, the City of Tampa and its citizens and any interested persons have alternate means of participating and communicating with City Council about the items on today's agenda by sending written comments on the web, and those instructions are at tampa.gov/public comment, written comments by email, by U.S. mail, and to pre-register to speak remotely using communications media technology, and those instructions are available on the City Council website at tampa.gov/City Council, one word. Now, for those individuals who don't have access to communications media technology, or those people who wish to come to City Hall, they do have the option of participating using CMT, which is being made available to the public on the second floor of Old City Hall here at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard. And please note that the use of masks and social distancing inside the building are encouraged. These directions are also not only within the notice available on the City Council website, but in the agenda. And council, I would ask you to make a motion to waive the rules to adopt the participation rules as set forth consistent with the notice.
So moved.
Mr. Maniscalco is waived. Mr. Citro, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, approval of the minutes, of the agenda. Long items today, sir. Gentlemen, so we want to make sure we get through it expeditiously as we can. We have some items. I think Mr. Dingfelder asked for item number 40.
Mr. Dingfelder is present and downstairs.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Grandal has asked for a continuance on item number 40. Mr. Shelby, do we take that up at the time of,
It's a consent docket. If you want to take it up now, you can do that. I believe it's on the consent docket, Madam Clerk, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So then if council wishes to clean it up right now and move it, and when you get to it, to please be sure that that item has already been handled, to skip that number. Your call,
oh,
Council.
we can move it, let's go ahead and move it now. He's asking for continuance to November 4th.
So moved.
Mr. Rand has moved it. Mr. Carson, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. All right, if we can go to the staff reports.
If we can, Mr. Chairman, I believe Councilmember Dingfelder has also requested, has he done any requests or not? Or do those appear on the agenda?
30 and 53, but they're not on the,
30 and 53, okay. So if we just could make a note that 30 and 53, and Councilmember Dingfelder, with regard to 30 and 53, did you want staff to appear under staff reports for discussion on that? The items that you asked be pulled?
Maybe, yeah, I would say probably. Those are very positive items that I just thought the community should
all right,
hear
so
about.
30 and 53 on the staff reports. All right?
Before we
I know
review
that
the
she-
staff, before we review the staff reports, Mr. Chairman, just at this point in time, if there are any other additions or deletions that have not been placed on the agenda that council wishes. I see none. Okay, thank you.
All right, I know the chief of staff, I think he's having a COVID update for item number 97. Anybody for item number 8, does 98 and 99 need to be here, or does the memo suffice?
So,
98 and 99?
hearing none, then Mr. Chairman, is Mr. Rogero relieved from appearing on 98 and 99, if there are no questions?
No questions, gentlemen. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Item 100, they're going to be here to talk about that.
So on item 100, is it Attorney Morrison? Is there anybody
Yes.
else that you wish to have present from staff?
I think Attorney Morris is going to be sufficient. I have a motion for that. I think they're already pre-aware of. I'm going to make a motion in reference to that.
Okay.
Item 101,
That's Councilmember Dingfelder. Councilmember Dingfelder, this is the neighborhood text proposal and a memorandum from Randy Goers requesting continuance to October 21st for item number 101.
I have no objection.
That can be taken up now if you wish to do that.
all right, moved for October 21st, 2021.
So moved.
Ms. Citrus moved it. Second by Mr. Maniscalco, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion granted. Item number 102, here in person, billboards, I think that's Mr. Carlson, Mr. Citro.
Mr. Brody has provided a written report. Do you
Just a
wish-
written report be fine with me.
Mr. Carlson?
Any-
Okay, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Brody is relieved from appearing on item 102?
Correct.
That would be a receive and file? Okay, thank you.
Item 103, we'll get a report on that, but I did speak with the mayor on that, so I'll have Ms. Austin to talk a little generality, but I'll tell you what the mayor advised me in reference to 103 at that time.
Okay.
Item 104, I think she's supposed to be present. Mr. Dingfelder, you want Ms. Holmes here? Does the memo suffice, or do you want her here, sir?
That's regarding Margaret Vizzi, a Neighborhood Leader Award for Margaret Vizzi. Did you wish to have a discussion on that?
Yeah, let's have a discussion.
All right. 103, 104 stays, and 105, I think there's Mr. Maniscalco. No, I'm good with the written report, thank you. Okay, all right. They don't need to be here. Mr. Winters need to be here for that. All right, then we'll go for the approval of the agenda. Mr. Moran has moved it.
Second.
Mr. Citro, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. All right, we'll go to ceremonials. Item number 1, Mr. Dingfelder, you're recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and what a pleasure and honor it is to be presenting a commendation to Mario Nunez. Mario, come on up. And Sally's going to stand there and be wonderful, as always. We're presenting this commendation to Mario and really to Sally and to their whole team for their now 11 years. We were going to do it last year, but 10 years, but now it's 11 years of producing, creating, and hosting the Tampa Native Show. And before I get into the commendation, I just want to make a couple of things abundantly clear. We are all Tampaños, as Mario will show us here. We're not Tampanians or anything silly like that. We're Tampaños. I can't say it as well as Mario does. And also, there's no such place as Tampa Bay. We are in the city of Tampa, and we're proud of it. But anyway, Mario and his lovely, brilliant, fantastic wife, Sally, who's behind us here, always shooting pictures and being wonderfully supportive, have produced and created the Tampa Native Show for 11 years. And it's with great pleasure that Tampa City Council recognizes Mario Nunez for creating and on-air hosting the Tampa Native Show for his stalwart commitment to the preservation of Tampa's rich history. From the show's early days on public access television to its Telly Award-winning productions emanating from the studios of TBAE, Mario continues to inspire viewership by Tampaños across the time zones. The show debuted on September 1st, 2010. It was the only show of its kind anywhere, and it's become an international success, viewed in over 30 countries and 42 states. Loyal fans of all ages who have roots in Tampa have been entertained and educated by his guests every week. By defining community roots and contributing to the collective historic preservation of Tampa's unique culture, Mario's program continues to lead the way. Through their archiving process, and as they've done with the Burgert Brothers, Tony Pizzo, Gonsmart family, and many others, the University of South Florida Special Collections has preserved the Tampa Native Show for generations to come. It is Tampa City Council's honor to present this commendation to Mario Nunez for his never-ending devotion to his hometown and his continuing efforts to capture Tampa's unique story, presented this day, September 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
We're doing that? All right, you got that? Fire away. I know Mario's always short for words.
No,
so
I'll be
you
brief.
can take your
I'll be brief, I promise. First off, let me just say what an honor it is, Council Chair Goods and distinguished council members, to be given this letter of commendation today. What started as a fond look back at a Tampa that of yesteryear has rapidly become a history preservation project. One thing we're certain is, as our elders are leaving us, they're taking these wonderful stories with them. It's become incumbent upon all of us, but I especially take it personal to preserve these stories for posterity, and so that the children, those that are born now here in our new time, and those that are finding us and coming here, remember our ancestors. I have to give a tip of the cap to everybody that's been a part of the production from its earliest days. Steve Canello, again, my wife Sally, who's been there from the very beginning, and the countless numbers of production staff that have continued to help me with the programming. My current production team at Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network, Scott and Glenda Maiden and Jessica Sturgis and the interns there, continue to prove week after week that there's no story that's not worth telling. You know, as Tampa continues to kind of find its way in this new time, identity-wise, you know, we were Cigar City for so many years. We wonder what we're going to be in the next 20, 25 years. Are we going to be Simi Valley East, or are we going to be a center for television and arts and production? We're just that's evolving now, that story, and I'm grateful to be playing a small part of that. Eternally grateful to my parents, my father, Felipe, who was born in 1928 in Ybor City, still with us. He's my biggest fan and supporter. My mom, Carmen, who remains my biggest critic and helping me to keep improving and getting better. I love you guys so much. Here's to the future of our city, to telling great stories and preserving that wonderful history of our forefathers that came here and carved out a future that we could not have seen in the 1880s. I hope that the city of Tampa and those that are involved continue to fund endeavors like the Tampa Native Show. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. Again, thank you to my dear friend, John Dinkfelder. I'm very touched. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mario, and I think some of our council members probably have some comments. I would like to just chime in and give a shout out to my mother, who's my biggest fan and critic. When I go home on Thursdays and I say, Mom, how was I? Wasn't I brilliant? And she said, you know, your head's a little shiny and you need a haircut. So
She's right, it's a little shiny.
anyway, Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it back to you.
Ms. Vieira, you're recognized.
Sir, thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman Dinkfelder, for doing this. Mario, so are both your parents are still alive?
They are, Louis.
What
They
a
are
blessing.
indeed.
I mean that. What a great blessing for you to have that. Councilman Dinkfelder mentioned his mother, and I talk to my mom every day. On the way here, I was talking to my mama. So just God bless parents, and may we be good parents if we are parents. But thank you, sir, for all that you do. Talking about Tampa's history is so very important, not just the stellar positive parts of history, but also the acute hurtful parts of that history and how it affects us today. I applaud everything that you do for your show. It's funny, we've talked about this that a couple of years when this council came in, we did a motion to, I believe it was Councilman Dinkfelder and Citro, did a motion to increase or get back your funding, so to speak. Excuse me, and I voted no. And I told you I voted no, and I've told you I was wrong on that. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I'm saying that because I think I was wrong. I think I was very wrong. There's certain, let's just say that, that's for private conversation. But again, I'm glad that the city is funding endeavors like this at the level that we are, and I think you do a great job and whatnot. But it's funny, immediately after my vote, I got a lot of people go, I get calls, I got calls, so to speak, and I went, you know what, damn it, you're right. So thank you very much for all that you do, and thank you again to Councilman Dinkfelder, Councilman Citro, I know pushed that a lot, and thank you for all that you do, and I know you got a lot of fans. Councilman Maniscalco is a big fan of yours, etc. So thank you, sir, and God bless you.
I appreciate
You're
I
recognized.
appreciate I'd just like to say that Councilman Vieira, apology accepted. And at the same time, there's an open and standing invitation for yourself, Councilman Goods, who have yet to appear on my show where everybody else has at some point or another. So we need to record your story for posterity, talk all about the good things that you're doing on council, especially as it relates to our military community. And Council Chair Goods as well. We've got a special place to talk with you as well.
Ms. Maniscalco, you're recognized.
Well, Mario, I just want to say I'm a big fan of your work, and I appreciate your friendship for many years, and I appreciate the Tampa Native Show because you touch on so many topics. It's not just, one thing or another. It could be highlight, it could be the Sinchet neon signs, it could, whatever it is, but I think somebody dressed up as Dr. Paul Bear. You did something, didn't you?
That was Steve Canella, yes.
Things from my childhood, things from my mother's childhood, whatever it is, but you keep that, those stories fresh in people's memories. You share them with the new generations because we have so many new people moving to Tampa, so they watch the show and they learn about our history, not just what's going on today, but what happened yesterday, and the importance of it. And we can't forget that, and you keep that alive. So I appreciate you and your wife and Mr. Canella and everybody else that makes and has made the Tampa Native Show so special. So congratulations, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Carlson, you're recognized.
Congratulations, and thank you for all you do for the community. I love to watch the show and remember things that I forgot, and you and your colleagues know so much about all the important history of our community, and a lot of times it's the little things that really have a deep emotional impact to people. So thanks for all that. Hopefully your parents are watching. I want to say hello. They're great people. I've met with them several times, and they're an inspiration to all of us. And you're keeping the lineage going by promoting all the great things about Tampa. You had the hat on a minute ago, Tempeño, and hopefully we'll discuss that another day. But as we're developing Tampa and developing our brand, one of the things that's important is to talk about what we call ourselves. And the version that's most often used by the city is Tempeñan, and there's another one that sounds like a bad word, or a word that isn't nice, so I wouldn't use that one. And then Tempeño is different. It differentiates us. Our roots are Latin. We had a chance to be the hub of Latin America, and we let it go to Miami. I think we have the chance to get it back. Everywhere I go in Latin America, they say that they want an alternative to Miami, and we should be it. But for the people of South Tampa, Tempeño doesn't mean just Latinos or Latins. It could potentially mean everybody, but it's a discussion for another day. We're not voting on it. And I know also that you want to change the flag. That's a discussion for another day also. But I want to in particular say thank you for your really hard efforts to save Fairyland. There are so many people, especially baby boom generation, people like Yoli Capine who, when you talk about, and Richard Gonsmart, when you talk about Fairyland, they tear up because they had so many great memories there as kids. And for anybody who doesn't know, before Lowry Park Zoo and Busch Gardens, there was Fairyland, and you can Google it. There's a website for it. But Mario found these statues on a junk pile a few years ago, and worked with Richard Gonsmart to restore them. And if you go to Ulele, you can see them there, including Humpty Dumpty on the roof in the back. But it's a great part of our history, and any small thing, when you can pull something off a trash pile and make grown people cry, that means you've done something really important. And the last thing, one of the things that makes me tearful is the song. I love the song in your show. Who was the author of that?
That's the great Mike Baluja, who created the song lyrics and the song. I Remember Tampa. It's a
an
wonderful
awesome song.
Yeah, it's a wonderful.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Carlson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Congratulations to you and your wife, Mr. Nunez.
Thank you, Councilman Citro.
Como usted está hablando en español y tampeño, eso le voy a hablar en el idioma que nacimos nosotros dos. Cuando te vi el sábado a ti ahí en el Concilio de Tampa, donde se juega la pelota, estamos hablando de unas cosas y mira a ver si empieza algo de famoso de los 89 peloteros que han jugado grandes ligas de la ciudad de Tampa. Y una cosa que es muy lindo, y si se puede eso en una cosa más grande, es mejor para el comercio y para la gente que viene a visitar la buena ciudad de Tampa. Muchísimas gracias por decir que no hay ninguna ciudad que se llama Tampa Bay. No hay ninguno electo de Tampa Bay, no hay Clearwater Bay, no hay St. Pete Bay, no hay Sarasota Bay, no hay Manatee Bay, y eso fue una cosa que se hizo para mí en error. Tampa Bay es una bahía de agua, donde vienen los barcos y salen los barcos y la gente se divierte pescando y nadando en la bahía y en las playas. Así que vamos a enderezar todo. Esta es la ciudad de Tampa, no la ciudad de Tampa Bay. Muchísimas gracias a usted y su señora por todo lo que han hecho por comercio y para los habitantes de Tampa. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias a usted, caballero.
Okay, I know that was a little tongue lashing. I can tell already,
He told the truth.
Well, Mario, thank you for the work you've done with the show. Unfortunately, I had not had a chance, but I'll make sure that my interim aide, Debbie, gets that schedule so we can get over there and do that. We appreciate the work you're doing. And again, I'm familiar with being a Tampanian. I'm not familiar with Tempeño, so I have to maybe get used to, but I'm from the old school of Tampania. So, but again, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Dingfelder, for this accommodation to Mario.
Thank you, Council
right.
Chair. May I say one more thing before I'm
One more
escorted
thing,
out?
sir. We got to get moving.
So I brought these window decals that I'm going to send up to you guys, and I want you all to have one. And because you bestowed me with a gift, I'm going to give one to you as well. There's an extra one here for our mayor. And at the same time, let me remind you that the word Tampanian is, if you'll just slow it down just a bit and end it with an O sound, it comes out Tampeño. So it's real easy. It's just a slight move to the left. But thank you all very much. I'm very moved by this, and I promise to continue my good work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, like I said, we have a tight schedule. I know we We want to give our blessings to the folks who are getting accommodations, but if we can just limit it to just a few minutes so we can move on. And again, that's for the future as well. We're kind of going a little long-winded in times of the essence, especially with these long agenda items. So if you can just indulge me a little bit. Item number 2, Sonia's downstairs. I mean, not Sonia, excuse me, Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie's going to do the honors for me this morning. Well, Mr. Dingfellow is there. He can help me out with that. My cohort there, he can help me out with that as well. He's a...
Yeah, actually, I thought as long as I was here, and I love these guys, I would help you out, Mr. Chairman. Debbie, you don't mind?
Appreciate that.
No, I do not. Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, without further ado, we are presenting a commendation to our purchasing director, Greg Spearman, and the City of Tampa Purchasing Department. As I tell you guys periodically, and I've told these guys often, my very first job out of college was a purchasing officer up in Tallahassee. And I only did it for a couple years before law school, but it really made a significant mark on me that purchasing is really the core in terms of the integrity of public purchasing is the core of government. Because if you don't have integrity in public purchasing, then the entire process falls apart, and the public doesn't have any belief or in the system. So these guys are fantastic. I know I give them a hard time every now and then, and I ask them a lot of questions, but I hope they don't mind it. And we're giving them a commendation today, and I'll read it as follows, and Mr. Spearman will speak to us. In recognition of receiving the National Procurement Institute Excellence in Procurement Award for 2021, this award symbolizes organizational excellence in innovation, professionalism, productivity, e-procurement, and leadership. It is even more impressive, Greg, that you and your purchasing department team have received this award for 15 consecutive years. There you go. Give yourself a round of applause. It's indicative of the commitment and level of professionalism demonstrated by you and your department. Our City Council is proud to present you with this commendation. We thank you for all you do on behalf of the city and its residents on this, the 30th day of September 2021. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Councilman Dingfelder and Council Chair Goose and members of council. It is an honor and a pleasure for this department to serve the city of Tampa the way that we do. And as Councilman Dingfelder said, we do it with integrity. We abide by all of the best practices. We abide by the NIGP Code of Ethics, and we just believe in excellence. You know, we look at continuous improvement. So behind me are the men and women that really make this happen every day. So a lot of the things that we do you are behind the scenes. You don't really see it. Like, for an example, making sure the rescue cars are equipped with the drugs they need to treat patients in their critical time of need, outfitting the fire trucks with the critical scuba gear, everything that the police department needs in terms of the vehicles, the cages, everything that's needed by the water and wastewater department and the waste energy plant, all those things that really keep the city running and humming. You know, the uniforms we buy that you see that the police officers wear and the firefighters wear, and all those things. You know, this team behind me really makes that happen every single day. So I also want to acknowledge someone who is very important to our team who is not here today, and that's Michelle Blizzard. She is the administrative executive aide for purchasing, and she basically puts together the application for us. It's a daunting task, and I got to tell you, the criteria keeps elevating year after year after year, so it becomes more increasingly difficult to win this award. But we're up to the challenge to make sure that we maintain the standards, the professionalism, and the education that's necessary to do that. And I just want to recognize my two managers, Kevin Fry and Deanna Marshall. Kevin manages the goods and services team, and Deanna manages our systems team and all the people that they support. And we also have Mike Ashby, who manages our inventory, that keeps all of the departments in terms of the police department, the fire department, and also water and wastewater and transportation moving and humming all the time. So with that, Council, we know you have a busy schedule. Again, thank you very much for this recognition. We appreciate your efforts and your support toward the purchasing department. Thank you.
Ms. Vieira, you're recognized.
Thank you very much for all the work that you do. You know, in the city, we're very blessed to have some wonderful professional staff. Just last night, I had a community meeting out at Corey Lake Isles on some issues with the road. Very, very boring issues, but extremely important to the residents out there. And Brad Baird and Eric Weiss came out and just, you know, showed themselves out to be the professionals that they are and the professionals that y'all are as well. You know, in purchasing, y'all always do a fine job, and you know, you all have a great team leader there, and all y'all do a great job. So we're always very proud of all of our City of Tampa employees and all of the work that everybody does, all of our workers. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Maniscalco.
Well, congratulations to you, sir, and the entire department. It's certainly very, very, very well deserved, because everybody works so hard. Everyone is so committed to keeping things running smoothly, and you do, and that's why you are recognized. And this isn't the first time. This is one of many times, and for good reason. You know, you strive for excellence, and you deliver excellence, and we appreciate that, and we're all very, very proud of you. Thank you.
Mr. Carlson, recognized.
Thank you and congratulations.
Mr. Citro?
I want to congratulate you and your team. You have a record of getting the best products at the finest qualities for the best prices. People do not understand how much money you and your office saves the taxpayers. Thank you, Mr. Spearman, and your office. Congratulations on this.
Mr. Miranda, recognized.
Mr. Spearman, if I may call you Greg, National Procurement Institute of Excellence and Procurement Award. Can you tell the public exactly what that means so that they understand the hard work that all of you did, not by leadership, but by being in one team, working for one goal, is that to make the City of Tampa better? Can you explain that to the public? And I appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir. The National Institute of Governmental Purchasing, or NPI, the National Purchasing Institute, basically has an award program for recognizing those purchasing departments that perform according to high standards, ethical achievement, best practices in terms of automation and procurement, all those kind of things. So we submit an application, and we have to document all those things that we're doing every year. And that application gets graded, reviewed by a team of experts, a panel of experts of our peers, and they make the decision in terms of whether or not you meet the criteria and the points in terms of being able to be recognized for this award.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to have served many years for you and all your staff. You're a bunch of wonderful men and women. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Spearman, once I saw this come out of this award, right away I said we had to give a accommodation, because I know this council, myself, Mr. Dingfelder, we do dig real hard, but when the achievements are made, you know, we have to be able to give those acknowledgments when they're made. And I know with this new administration, this council, we've asked a lot, and you've come forth and you've done what we've asked you to do, and I can see the change, we can see the change, and we're very appreciative of that. I know when we first met, we kind of got off a rock start, but once we had our conversation, you understood me and I understood you. And sometimes it takes that to know how people are, because everyone's different how they communicate sometimes. So I just want to make sure that I did my part in recognizing yourself and your staff for the job you've done. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, council.
All right, we'll go into public comment. All right, we can begin public comment on the second floor.
Good morning, council.
Morning.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. You state your name for us.
Daryl McAteer, 100 South Ashley Drive, Suite 2000. That's my work address. I'm also a Tampa resident. I just want to speak very briefly. I can't be here tonight on the multifamily issue, so I just wanted to speak very briefly on that. There's likely to be a decision to ban the use of floor area ratio in multifamily projects in South Tampa and the South Tampa and New Tampa planning districts. And while I personally feel this will only result in even more limited workforce and starter housing options in South Tampa, and I feel developers will be forced to build larger luxury units and charge accordingly, I think that issue has probably been put to bed at this point. I realize FAR would still be available for density if the developer incorporates mixed use. Mixed use is not an option in many areas of South Tampa because although we've come a long way, this is still not a pedestrian-friendly city in most areas. All that being said, I hope that additional incentives beyond simply allowing the use of FAR and maintaining the status quo in areas like the Central Planning District are incorporated. The central part of the city has a lot of promise, but remains a much harder sell for developers. And they'll have to discount accordingly, and investment incentive is therefore somewhat lower. I've heard rumors of plans and concepts for additional incentives in the remaining planning districts where FAR will be allowed for multifamily density as a sole use, for a sole mixed multifamily use. And I hope those plans come to fruition, and I would encourage the council to incorporate some sort of incentives for those districts to incentivize development and give us a place to put starter and workforce housing in Tampa in a way that, in a place that's convenient enough for people to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Uhuru. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. We say we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom. Mentez not, Tampa, Florida. I want to say to the people that's out there and our city council representatives that slavery is worse today, 2021, than it has ever been in the history of the world, period. Especially living here in a technologically advanced, economically advanced, supposedly socially advanced society of the United States of America. We as African people have it really, really, really hard, and that's through discriminatory practices that's implemented against us specifically. I want to say that right here in this city of Tampa, Florida, we're 26% of the population, and we're deserving of 26% of the city budget. We're deserving of 26% of the city employment, and we're deserving of 26% of the city's economy. That's in private industry and in government. If it's county government, city government, wheresoever it is, we're deserving of that. We would like to be represented proportionally instead of disproportionately in areas of healthcare, crime, unemployment, education, access to housing, and all these other things. I think that the fact of the matter is that this city council, just as previous city councils, previous mayors, previous elected officials, and current elected officials have offered lip service to African people and only lip service. And they go about, they do these awards, they do other things that's like really, it's insignificant because you can't see a concrete change. You can't put your hands on it. You can't put your hands on scientific or analytical change. You just can't see it. For African people, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and to be monically correct, worser. So the fact of the matter is, we as African people would like reparations from this city and from the city, the businesses that practice or that do conduct business in this city. We would also like an end to all the bicycle stops, and we would like to overturn, and we would like that to be overturned from anybody who's been cited for that to be overturned. We'll also like to see a return of all. We would like our city council representatives to call our state representatives and say, hey, return those father stimulus checks that has been garnished from them by the Social Security Administration. And also we would like to see affordable housing, and we would like to see the Tampa Police Department get out of kicking people out of their homes. Affordable housing isn't a home in Wilder and 30th for $449,000. That's called gentrification in its worst form. And we have to make a difference to make a change about those things.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Council. My name is Nathan Hagan. I know there are some housing topics coming up today, and I hope my speech here, you keep my speech here in mind for those items. Piecemeal PD development isn't enough. I'm here to introduce my 1 to 3 triplex Tampa housing plan. We need to build more housing. We need neighbors and yes, even developers, and we need to act now to build more housing for everyone in our community. We need to make it legal to build stacked triplexes on every 3,000 plus square foot lot in the city of Tampa that is currently zoned for single family, especially in Seminole Heights, Tampa Heights, Ybor, Hyde Park, North Hyde Park, Midtown, South Tampa, Palmacia, and yes, even south of Gandy. Here's my story. I'm white and solidly middle class. I live in West River, North Hyde Park area. This is a historically black and historically disenfranchised neighborhood in Tampa. I love this neighborhood. I know that my presence here contributes to higher housing costs here, and because most infill is luxury single family housing, any growth in housing today is displacing somebody else, probably somebody who has much deeper connections to the neighborhood than I do, or those even newer residents do. The truth is that despite all my privilege, I just can't afford to live in any other communities with similar amenities and access in Tampa. So I'm here. What am I supposed to do? What's worse is, only 2 years into living there, I'm seeing that I'll have to leave the neighborhood because the cost of housing is rising so quickly. Buying there is beyond my means. All around me are new luxury villas, which are subsidized by our land use code, which makes it illegal to build anything that is more affordable to regular people. I don't care what they look like. What I care about is that the city land use codes do not allow regular people to live there anymore. So I ask you, when my rent goes up, where will I go next, and who will I displace then? Is my best option to leave? Am even I being displaced? How can I feel welcome in a city that I can't afford to live in? How should anyone without my good fortune feel? You must know. So the only thing I can think to do is to show up here and tell you that things need to change and that we aren't doing enough now. To make Tampa a welcoming city, we need more housing, now. We need to make it legal to build stacked triplexes on every lot so that we are building single-family homes on today. If we can do that, we can do so much more. This would just be a start. If we don't, we are choosing housing scarcity and power of wealth over ensuring Tampa can be a welcoming, diverse place where everyone who comes here can enjoy all that makes Tampa great. So I'll hope you and others listening will join me in saying yes in my backyard for abundant, equitable housing in our community now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hello. I am Sovereign Despot Holder in the Chorus, King Johnny Bernard Booth. I'm here to present documentation for the Global ID Passport Traveler's Card Paid in Full card. These right here are going to be something temporary until we get the new lawful currency up and running. Now, I'm going to show you a master spread of mine. also continue to spread the news and stuff on this right here, because this is still important. There you go. Okay, our Africans amongst us. Look, I, the Cree, I'm gonna explain to you. Look, no one in this community meant to cause you any harm or any hurt or anything like that. We're offering an olive branch to you. We love the fact that you're in our community because we like many cultures, many influences. Look, how does this sound? We're gonna come up with a African district in 3 different locations. We already see the Encore area is already pretty much an African district, but I also want some of you in different living like mansions also, and we also want you to be in different areas also so that you can work with our community more and more. And I heard what the man said about the reparations, 26%. Yeah, ain't no problem there. We can swing that. Now, I need you to also mingle with everyone in the community. Practices of being against each other's skin tone, that's not good at all, because then you're never going to get to really know the community that you're in. We Tampa Bayans, we love everyone, including you too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
That was the final public speaker.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any registered speakers, madam? Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Chair. The first speaker is going to be Stephanie Pointer. Stephanie, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm happy to be speaking to you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm happy to be speaking to you today about something that is my JOB. I know that you guys don't think I have one, but I do. As a property manager, I support the Tenant Bill of Rights. While some might feel differently, I do not see tenants as a money-making venture, but as folks who are in need of a home to live in. I think Hillsborough County's program has appropriate paperwork and guidelines. I believe the city should follow suit on this one. Why reinvent the wheel? I even highly recommend that you collaborate with the county to use the same form. Why do I ask this? Since Hillsborough County has instated the tenants' rights requirement, my brokerage, which only has a handful of property managers, the admins have actually asked me for this form for city properties, which I had and submitted, but I also had to take the time to educate them that not all property managers within the city and properties within the city are going to have that form. Many residents of the city and county don't even realize there's a difference between the two. It just makes sense for the city and county to use the same form and collaborate. I'll also take a minute to address rental registration system, which is on the 1028 agenda. As a budget committee member, I find this program offensive as it wastes time and energy from staff, not to mention $125 a pop for them to be registered. If you want to find a landlord, then you check the tax assessor's office. If you want to find a tenant, USPS to occupant or knock on the front door. But if you require a tenant bill of rights documents, then any landlord in the city would be required to produce these documents for the current tenant. This puts the burden of record keeping on the landlord, not the city staff or the city, at $125 a pop. I have 44 units in my small little neighborhood. 14 of them are rented. Remember, I live next to McDill. 8 of them are currently not registered. 3 of those are run by large property management companies within the city. 57% of my own little neighborhood is not registered. Does that make them bad landlords? I don't think so. it just means that they likely don't even know that the program exists. Get rid of the rental registration, align the tenants' bill of rights with Hillsborough County, and please, tonight, put number 14 before number 12, because I don't want to be up past midnight. And of all of the buildings in South Tampa that have been built with or without the FAR in the last 5 years, not one unit of the 4,877 have been affordable. So let's not kid ourselves. Have a good day, gentlemen. I'll see you tonight.
Which is the number she was speaking on?
She said 14 versus 12
I
tonight.
think that was tonight. I think that's what she was talking about.
But she mentioned something about rental certificate or something.
Oh, she talked about the rental registration, I believe.
What number is that?
I don't think that's on there for tonight. I don't think it's on, I think she was just making comments in reference to it.
Rental registration is today.
Chair, that's going to conclude general public comments. Thank you.
Mr. Shelby, recognized.
I believe item number 100 on the agenda is relating to a report that's definitely appearing on the Renters' Bill of Rights in Hillsborough County.
Right, which is different than
Yeah, that's
rental
the registration.
Oh, rental registration. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Okay. I'm sorry. Clerk, I had indicated something. I'm sorry.
Rental registration is a topic that's been, I think, continued several times, and I don't know when it's coming back.
Right. All right, any more registered speakers?
That concludes the public comment.
Thank you. General, we'll move rather quickly. We'll go to the consent agenda. First up, I have Mr. Citro, Public Safety. Move item 3 through 8, sir.
Yes, sir. 1 second, Mr. Chair, and I'm right on top of it. I would like to move item agenda number 3 through 8.
Second.
Mr. Citro has moved it. Mr. Manrana has seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Vieira, and Goode.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
You're recognized.
Item agenda number 8, I'd like to also thank the Winn-Dixie Corporation for their gifts.
So noted, sir.
Motion carried unanimously.
Mr. Maniscalco, Parks and Rec, items 9 through 11.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move items number 9 through 11.
Mr. Maniscalco moves it. Mr. Miranda seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Miranda, Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, Citro,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Public Works, Mr. John Dingfelder, items 12 through 29, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move those items, 12 through 29.
Second.
Mr. Dingfelder has moved it. Mr. Miranda seconded. Roll call, please.
Citro,
Yes.
Dingfelder, Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, Miranda,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Mr. Miranda, Finance Committee, excluding items number 30, which will be on staff reports.
Move items 31 through 39.
Second.
Mr. Miranda has moved it. Mr. Citro has seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, Citro,
Yes.
Miranda, Dingfelder,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Carlson, Building and Preservations, excluding, we've already taken care of item number 40. I believe 53 will be on a staff report, sir.
So I'd like to move items number 41 through 64 minus 53.
Mr. Carlson moved it. Mr. Miranda seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, Citro,
Yes.
Miranda, Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Mr. Vieira, Transportation Committee, items 65 through 75, sir.
Yes, sir. I move items 65 through 75. Second.
Mr. Vieira has moved it. Mr. Miranda has seconded. Roll call vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda, Dingfelder,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, we'll go to item 76.
Mr. Chairman, you could
Yes,
move
sir,
that,
you recognize,
you
sir.
could move that whole section 76 through 81 by one motion, please.
Yes,
So
sir.
moved. Set all the public hearing.
Mr. Vieira, was it Vieira?
No, me.
Ms. Maniscalco has moved it. Mr. Miranda has seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
92 for
Second.
Miranda has moved it, and Mr. Citrus seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're open. Item number 82.
Thanks so much. Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 82.
One moment,
case
sir.
REZ.
Zane, one moment, sir. IT, we have no screen on top. Here we go. Thank you, Zane. You may continue, sir.
Thank you, sir. Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Item number 82 on the agenda, our case REZ 21-24. This is for second reading and adoption. The address is 2918 North Woodrow Avenue. This is proposing a rezone from RS 50 to PD, Planned Development Residential Single Family Detached. The site plans have been dropped off to the city clerk as of yesterday. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay, we'll hear from the applicant. Anybody on the second floor references item number 82? We have everybody registered for this item. No one is registered for this item. Move to close.
So move. Second.
Randall's moved to close. Mr. Citrus second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Vieira, item number 82, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2918 North Woodrow Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD Planned Development Residential Single Family Detached, providing an effective date.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Vieira, and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 83, Mr. Carlson's abstaining.
Yes, I need to abstain. Could I just vote to receive and make a motion to receive and file my abstention form?
Mr. Carlson asked for motion to receive and file, second by Mr. Miranda.
And I need to, if I could, I just need to say the company by whom I'm retained does business with an entity that has an interest in this matter.
All right, Mr. Carlson's moved his item. Mr. Miranda second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Zane, item number 83.
Thank you so much, sir. Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 83, case REZ 21-38. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The address is 4701 North Himes Avenue and 4610, 4612, 4614, and 4616 North Emerald Avenue. This proposing a PD and RS60 to PD Planned Development School. Site plans have been dropped off yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions? Any questions? We'll hear from the applicant. Anybody on the second floor or they're registered? All right. So we'll swear them in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This is Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson representing the applicant. We're just here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for the applicant? Do we have anybody else to speak on this item? On the second floor?
Move to close.
All right. Mr. Miranda has moved to close. Mr. Citro is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Maniscalco, number 83, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4701 North Himes Avenue and 4610, 4612, 4614, and 4616 North Emerald Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida. And more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification PD Plan Development and RS60 residential single family to PD Plan Development School, providing an effective date.
Second.
Mr. Miranda is seconded. Roll call, please.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, Citro,
Yes.
and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson being abstaining.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 84.
Thank you so much. Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 84, case REZ 21-44. This is for second reading and adoption. The address is 504 South Moody Avenue. Proposing a rezone from CG Commercial General to PD Planned Development Residential Single Family Attached. Site plans have been dropped off as of yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions from staff? Any questions from staff? We'll hear from the applicant. All right. Having no difficulties there, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Yeah, he's on, but
Video's not active. Sir, if you can hear us, can you turn your video on if you can hear us? All right, we have Randy Cohen is here. He's a representative of this item? All right.
Yes, sir, if I may speak.
Thank you, sir.
Randy Cohen. Dave
swear you in,
Mechanic
sir?
is online, but evidently he's having some technical difficulties.
Let's have the clerk swear you in, Randy.
Yes, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Basically, we were here to answer any questions that you may have. Our client, James Ramos, I believe, may be on the line, although he may be having some technical difficulties as well. For Councilman Dingfelder, Mr. Ramos wanted to show him revised elevations of the end of the townhouse buildings that face Moody that were of concern to him, and that they have been substantially enhanced, shall we say, but evidently we're having some technical difficulties with both James and David, so.
All right, Mr. Dingfelder, I think this,
We recognize that comment, and we are addressing it.
Mr. Cohen, my recollection and the document seems to indicate we were unanimous in support a couple of weeks ago, so I don't have any questions today.
Thank you.
any other questions from staff, from council members? Anyone else speak on this item? Do we have anyone else registered?
No one is registered.
All right, move close.
So moved.
Mr. Maniscalco has moved. Ms. Miranda, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Carried. Mr. Carlson, item number 84, please, sir.
Sir, I'd like to move file number REZ 2144, ordinance being presented for a second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 504 South Moody Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification CG commercial general to PD plan development residential single-family attached, providing effective date.
Second.
All right, Ms. Maniscalco, second. Roll call vote, please.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, item number 85, Zane.
Thanks so much, Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 85, case REZ 21-54. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The address location is 3216 West Azeel Street. This is proposing a rezone from RM24 residential multifamily to PD client development medical office. Site plans have been dropped off as of yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? Do we have the applicant?
Mr. Tyler Hudson should be online.
Do we have Mr. Hudson? Okay, we'll see Randy Cohen again. Okay, well, let's swear those in since we don't have Mr. Hudson.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I do. This is Randy Cohen. Evidently, we're still having some technical difficulties with Weiler as well. Here on behalf of, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the
I'm
representative?
Saul Fleischman, the architect. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the representatives? Any else to speak? Anyone else
Both
speak
of
on this
them.
item?
Okay, now if you click on the webcam tab, Dave.
Well, it says to use,
Oh.
I can't find my cursor here. Jackie, you gotta do it. Mine,
All right, hold on. Mr. Hudson, before I move on, did you want to speak before I move on to any other Persons of interest.
No, sir. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. Appreciate council's support of this project again. Thank you.
All right.
Move to close.
Move to close.
Second.
Mr. Moran has moved. Who's second? Mr. Citro, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Citro, can you take number 85, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chair, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning the property in the general vicinity of 2316 West Hill Street, the city of Tampa, Florida, and more described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM24 residential multifamily to PD plan development medical office, providing for an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call vote, please.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's go to item number 86. Staff.
Thank you so much. Zain Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 86, case RZ 21-57. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The address is at 512 South Melville Avenue. Proposing a rezone here from RM16 residential multifamily to PD plan development residential single family attached. Site plans were turned in yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions from staff? Any questions for staff? We'll hear from the applicant. They registered? All right, swear her in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jamie Mayer of the law firm Hillsborough Henderson for the applicant, here to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the representative? Any questions? Anyone here to speak on this item? Anyone ready to speak on this item?
No one is
Move to
registered.
close.
Second.
Mr. Rand has moved to close. Mr. Maniscalco, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Dingfelder, do the honors. 86, please, sir.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. In regard to item 86, file number REZ 21-57, I'll move the following ordinance for second reading and adoption based upon the facts and findings that were stated at the original first hearing. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 512 South Melville Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classifications RM16 residential multifamily to PD plan development residential single family attached, providing an effective date.
Mr. Rand has seconded. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Citro?
No.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried with Citro voting no.
Item number 87.
Thanks so much, Zain Hussein, Development Coordination. Going over agenda item number 87, case SU2 20-08. This is special use 2 permit proposal to approve a school in RS60 residential single family zoning. This is for the address at 4626, 4630, 4601, and 4611 North Rome Avenue. Site plans were turned in yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? Do we have an applicant?
David Mechanic.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, council members. My name is Mark Bentley, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa, 33602. I'm here to answer any questions council may have.
Any questions for the representative? Any questions? Anyone else speak on this item? On the second floor.
Yeah, I just have one question, comment.
Let me get, you want to talk for Mr. Bentley or just in general?
Yeah, for Mr. Bentley.
All right, let's go back. Mr. Dingfelder has a question, Mr. Bentley.
Yeah.
That's where Mr. Bentley is, sir.
No. Yeah, that's fine.
I need to see him.
That's where Mr. Bentley is.
Is he holding his? I can't see him.
Yeah, Mr. Bentley, you hold your hand up.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, Mark, leading into this, you know, we did hear from the neighborhood, a couple of folks in the neighborhood who are concerned about traffic problems and that sort of thing. I believe, and I think council voted accordingly, that you guys responded to that appropriately, and I think it was a unanimous decision at first reading. But I just wanted to make sure and get your assurances that the administration at the school will continue to work with that neighborhood when ththese traffic issues arise. I think you had your principal there the other day asserting that, but I think it'd just be good to remind you and remind them that this is not just let's go to city council and get this done. You know, we all need to remain good neighbors, and I'm sure that the school is.
No, they intend to, and actually they were a little surprised and taken aback. But like I said, at every school year, there's kind of a learning curve, you know, the first semester. So I think they had one complaint this year, but they intend to work with the neighborhood in the event there's any problems.
Thank you, Mr. Bentley. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else any questions, Mr. Bentley? Anybody else to speak on this item?
Move to close.
Second.
Madam Clerk, anybody to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
All right, Mr. Miranda has moved to close. Ms. Maniscalco, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Miranda, item number 87, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, move item number 87, file number SU2-20-08. An ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 approving a school in the RS60 residential single-family zoning district in the general vicinity of 4626, 4630, 4601, and 4611 North Rome Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 thereof, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second by Ms. Maniscalco. Roll call vote, please.
Viera. Yes. Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 88, Zane.
Thank you so much. Zain Hussein, Development Coordination, agenda item number 88, case SU2 21-04. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. This is for a special use 2 permit for a drive-in window or a restaurant drive-in window at the location at 17519 Bruce B. Downs Boulevard. The current zoning is PDA, Planned Development Alternative. Site plans were turned in yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? We'll hear from the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, this is Dave Mechanic. Can you all hear and see me?
Yes, sir. I think we swear you in, Dave.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, council members, we are just here to answer any questions. The council approved this unanimously and there was no opposition.
Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? We have anybody to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
Second.
Mr.
If you could just ask for the second floor, just for the record, please.
Anyone on the second floor for this item?
Move to close.
Mr. Miranda has moved to close. Mr. Maniscalco, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion granted. We'll go back to Mr. Vieira, item number 88, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, my pleasure. I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance approving a special use permit SU2, approving a drive-in window or a restaurant drive-in window in the PDA, Planned Development Alternative Zoning District in the general vicinity of 17519 Bruce B. Downs Boulevard in the city of Tampa, more particularly described in section 1 hereof, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second, Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Viera.
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 89.
Thank you so much. Zain Hussein, Development Coordination, agenda item number 89, case REZ 20-86. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The location is at 2715 West Tampa Bay Boulevard. Proposing a rezone from PD, Planned Development Office Business Professional, to PD, Planned Development Office Business Professional, or Commercial Off-Street Parking. Site plans were turned in yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Anyone have any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? No questions? We'll move to the applicant.
Good morning, council.
Sworn in, sir. Raise your hand, be sworn in, please.
Steve Michelini. Yes, I've been sworn.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions you have. This was a rezoning that allowed the off-street parking to occur adjacent to a restaurant. Respectfully requesting your approval.
Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? Anybody on the second floor to speak on this item? Anyone on the second floor to speak on this item? Anyone registered to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
Mr. Miranda has moved to close. Ms. Maniscalco, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Back to Mr. Maniscalco, number 89, sir.
Thank you very much. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2715 West Tampa Bay Boulevard in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classifications PD Plan Development Office Business Professional to PD Plan Development Office Business Professional or Commercial Off-Street Parking, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item
Thank
number
you,
90,
counsel.
staff. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 90, case RAZ 21-64. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The location is at 3602 West Azeel Street, proposing a rezoning from RS60, residential single family, to PD, Plan Development Office Business Professional. Site plans were turned in yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions of staff? Any questions of staff? We have an applicant. We have an applicant standing by?
No one registered for this item.
All right, anybody on the second floor speak on this item? Anyone on the second floor speak on this item? And we have no one registered, correct? Move to close?
So move.
Mr. Scalco's moved it, Mr. Memorandum seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We'll go to Mr. Carlson for item number 90.
Yes, sir. I'd like to move file number REZ 2164, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 3602 West Azeel Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS60 residential single family to PD Plan Development Office Business Professional, providing effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera, Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right. Moving to item number 91.
Thanks so much, Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 91, case RAZ 21-65. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The location is at 3018 North Tampa Street, proposing a rezoning from RS50, residential single family, to PD, Plan Development, residential single family attached. Site plans were dropped off yesterday to the city clerk. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? All right. Do we have an applicant? Do we have a registered applicant? Anyone registered to speak on this?
We have 3 speakers.
All right, let me see. Do we have an applicant?
Come on up, folks. They're ready for you.
Are you the applicant, sir?
No, I'm a neighbor of the proposed rezoned property.
Are you a representative?
Yes, I'm Nick Clark, 106 West Adderley. I own the property, own and live at the property.
Okay, all right. We need you to be sworn in, sir. All who are speaking?
And the ones that's registered online. They can raise their hand.
Can we see the ones that are registered online so we can get to swear everybody at one time?
Please raise your right hand.
We can't see them.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Sir, the folks on the second floor, if they're speaking, everyone has to raise their hands if they're speaking. So the gentleman behind you with the folders, he's speaking.
Are they with the applicant?
Are they with the applicant?
Or are they speaking?
Or you in opposition?
We're opposition.
Okay, we want to hear from the applicant first. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay.
All right. All right, so are we swearing the applicants in? We get you to raise your hand, sir, if you're the applicant, so we get you sworn in?
We just did.
Okay, she said she got you already. My apologies. Okay, you can continue, sir. Go ahead. State your name for the record, and you have anything to tell us?
Yes. My name is Nick Clark. I own 106 West Adderley, the property adjacent to 3018 North Tampa, proposed rezoned property.
Oh.
Person downstairs.
No. No, sir, no, sir. We're going to deal with the applicant first, which is on our screen, and we'll come to you when we ask for opposition. Thank you, sir. So we have Mr. Borrello?
Grajales, yes.
Okay, all
Good
right.
morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. My name is Braulio Grajales with High Point Engineering in Tampa, 5300 West Cypress Street, and I have been sworn. I'm here representing Brick and Mortar. We are aware of the gentleman that is going to speak on opposition of our rezoning petition today. Mr. Joe Bonodono, who is the property owner, has been in contact with them and have discussed extensively his project with them. We are here to respond to any questions or concerns that our neighbors and you may have.
Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? All right, we'll go to the second floor for the opposition. Okay, sir, you're free to state your name and speak.
Yes, sir. Nick Clark at 106 West Adderley Street, the property adjacent to 3018 North Tampa that's proposed to be rezoned. I just wanted to state my opposition to the rezoning. I'm not opposed to building on the property as a single-family home, just opposed to the single-family attached. 4 townhomes, 3 stories each, with a rooftop terrace that would look into about 10 properties, private single-family home backyards. Just concerned about the privacy issues. You know, when we moved into the house and property next door, you know, we look to have privacy, and we think that, you know, having people in a rooftop terrace overlooking our property, along with some parking concerns on an already congested 106 West Adderley Street, will further just complicate things for the neighbors in the surrounding area. When we buy a single-family home, we expect, you know, single-family homes to be in the surrounding properties. Just want to state my opposition to that. I have 2 of my neighbors here to speak on the matter also.
Thank you, sir.
I think I need to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Michael Delano. I am the resident of 3012 North Tampa Street. I've lived there for 6 years and owned there. I lived in Ybor City before that. Had the fortune of traveling quite extensively in sales the past 12 years, before that Homeland Security, and then before that in the U.S. Navy. And I'm kind of alarmed at what I'm seeing in the neighborhood as a lack of continuity compared to most cities I see, and a lack of consideration for some of the parking and safety issues that are starting to arise as a result of push for multifamily. As you drive down Highland Avenue and then Tampa Street, the one-way streets from Seminole Heights through into downtown, there's about a 1.75 mile stretch that we live on all the way down to Florida, Nebraska. Along that, I don't know of any duplex along there, let alone any triplex or what would be called a quadplex, the proposed design. Really alarmed by that, as well as the height. I don't think there's any building along that street that is over 2 stories. This would have a 4-story terrace. You know, in addition to that, almost every home along there you see faces inward to Tampa. This does not. Almost every home also has driveways that they can park in. This, as far as I can tell, doesn't quite have enough sufficient parking. So we have concerns about that safety-wise. And then almost every other home has canopies and trees that they develop. This does not as well. We also have privacy and security, which Nick touched on. Here's an example looking northbound from my yard before and then proposed after, with people being able to look down. We have about 10 homes in the vicinity. Oh. We have about 10 homes in the vicinity. Well, I think I'm only have 3 minutes, so I'll go short. That would be affected by this, and it only takes a scattering of these throughout the heights to basically open up everyone's backyard. You know, I've been in communication with the city, Tyndale Oliver, as well as the Heights Mobility Study and FDOT, as we're trying to improve Tampa and Florida Street the past few years. And I even have an email from Tyndale Oliver from a year ago that the design they're leaning towards from FDOT is to actually reduce the traffic flow from 3 lanes down to 2 lanes, in part for more separation from vehicles. The proposed design goes counter to this, and what I've been told is that their proposed drive lane for this quadplex was originally onto Tampa Street but got rejected. And so their solution was to put that onto Adderley Street, which is a very poorly maintained street that people already park on both sides of. We have safety concerns with some of the elderly and people surrounding the neighborhood as emergency vehicles are unable to get back there. There are already talks of just not enough parking, and adding this where people are going to be parking on a street that is poorly maintained would be an issue as well. I went out there and measured it. It's just less than 24 feet curb to curb on the inside. The proposed drive lane, from what I can tell in the drawing, is 24 feet wide. So in a sense, it's dumping the traffic onto a slightly smaller street that I said is poorly maintained and doesn't have enough parking as a whole. Just kind of as a summary, I'd be happy to leave this material behind, but we're really concerned about where it's headed, especially during if there's a hurricane, something like that. We're really short on parking and short on traffic. And even FDOT, who's trying to push the corridor, is trying to add a 12-foot bike lane and pedestrian lane and reduce the traffic through there. So with that, we're really opposed to it, and thank you for your time.
A question for
You recognize, sir.
Question for the gentleman. And thank you for coming down this morning, taking out of your busy schedule. The photograph that you held up, or the drawing that you held up, I'm looking at, I think, a similar drawing on the computer. It's my can you hold that back up again?
This one?
Right. It's my understanding that, okay, the little person there on the side is walking on what would be Tampa Street.
That's the way I do it too.
And they, because of what you said, what I thought you said quickly was that all those rear garages were going to be on Tampa Street. But, so you're coming in off of Tampa Street, you're turning, and then you load into those garages. And I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page on that.
Yep. Sir, you would turn correct onto Adderley Street, as I understand it. This street that's already originally a brick street that was asphalted over, that's in poor shape. Drive down here, and then there's a proposed drive lane into this side that would wrap around into those garages.
Okay. All right, but I just wanted to make sure that all those rear garages were not facing Tampa Street, because clearly that would be, well, aesthetically pretty horrific. The first gentleman who spoke this morning sounded to me like one of your biggest concerns was the rooftop amenity, looking down into your backyards. I don't even know if that came up during the initial hearing. I don't think I was necessarily aware that there were going to be rooftops. I don't think that these townhomes are over 35 feet, and we'll have to double check with staff on that. But even new single family homes are allowed to be 35 feet tall in the code, and we'll have to double check with staff to see if these townhomes are at the 35 feet. But then if you're talking about 35 feet plus people standing on the roof, then you've got an additional issue. So we'll address that with staff and the applicant in a minute. Thank you for coming down, gentlemen.
Thank you for taking it. And we do have one more resident here.
Chairman?
You
Mr.
recognize,
Chairman? The gentleman who just spoke, you had said you would leave those behind. When you said that, is that your intention that you wanted that into the record?
I'm sorry, leave
Your
what behind?
your documents,
Oh.
you had made reference to the fact of leaving them behind, but the question is your intention to have them as part of the record, to have them entered into the record? Or
I would be happy to, yes.
No, well, I'm asking, what's your intention?
If they can be viewed prior to the decision and be part of the decision, yes, I would like to leave it behind. If not, no.
Okay, so we've viewed them on the television screen. I would recommend leaving them as part of the record.
I will do.
And what would you do? Hand those to the staff person who's there?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. Could you state your name for us, please?
Yes, my name is Vivian.
I'm sorry. I need you to be sworn in.
What?
You raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
You just state your name. You can begin.
My name is Vivian Banks White. I live at 109 West Alfred Street. I have, my property actually extends out over 10 feet and runs behind where the they're wanting to build there, okay? So I did speak. I was shocked, actually, because I left a letter. I was told that you folks would get it. It was put in your quasi box, opposing this. So you can imagine my shock whenever I seen, when I did view this last city council meeting regarding this property, you would know that I opposed this. And whenever Joe came and spoke with me, he knew I was opposed. And so when he stood up there and said, oh yeah, she's all for this, no, okay? So I'm here today to state that. My issue is, again, is the getting ambulances in and out, the traffic. I've lived here for 20 years and have worked, okay, to get the drugs and things and all of that, working with PD to get all of this stuff removed, okay? The house removed. Anyway, I'm here to oppose it, okay? It's our quality of life. I have been here 20 years, want to I don't want to leave my home. I want my privacy, okay? We all want to come home at the end of the day and enjoy our yards, our neighbors. But the thing is if this goes, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I've been here 20 years and I have fought for my neighborhood, okay? I have fought it. I have fought to make it a better neighborhood, and it is. And we're still learning and growing and improving. So if you have any questions for me, I'm sure you have a copy of the letter because I was told that you had it. So again, like I said, I was shocked whenever I heard him say what he said, that I was all for it. That is not true. And then he also apologized for hacking up my trees on my property, okay? All right, he said the city had something to do with that, and I accept his apology, and I just want to see a single family residence here, okay? Thank you so much for your time and your effort and your understanding.
Thank you for coming down. Thank you.
I had a question.
Ma'am? You recognize.
So our attorneys always tell us that, of course, everybody can come down here and talk to us, but our attorneys tell us that it's important to testify and provide us evidence with specifics on what you object to it. And I heard you run through a couple of things, but basically you said you don't want it, you don't like it. But I think if you could hone in on whatever 1, 2, 3 things that are critical to you. And I just wanted some clarification. You said about the traffic, but didn't you say that your property is to the rear of this?
Right. And there's also an alleyway that runs through in between the houses. Okay? And so we have the constant traffic because people already use it. Okay? They use the surface streets and they come through there. But we're trying to get ambulances in and out of there a little over a month and a half, probably a month and a half ago, on 2 occasions, okay? Ambulances were called, and so with people parking on the street, even though on my street it says no parking, people park, okay? You don't park on one side. The streets are so narrow you can't get any vehicles through if you park on both sides of the street.
Okay. And what other issue? What other issue? I'm sorry.
Okay, it's the privacy. Okay.
In regard to the rooftop?
No. In regard to the rooftop, okay, and just the being multi-family, okay. Again, it's where they people. you know, if you build something there, you're going to have additional traffic, and anybody can park on Adderley. Okay?
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thanks for coming down.
All right, anybody else to speak on this item on the second floor? We have any registered speaker on this item in opposition?
No, the one registered speaker is in person.
All right, let's go back to rebuttal from the applicant.
Thank you. So, first of all, we would like to clarify a couple of things from the site plan perspective. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that every townhome is going to provide two-car garage, and the property is going to provide a visitor's parking space. We are meeting the code. So the statement that indicates that we are going to promote parking on the street is incorrect. And Joe, do you want to also clarify your interaction with the lady and also with situation with the alleyway, please?
Yes, if I may. I did speak with the neighbor, Vivian White, probably about 30 days ago.
Hold on a second, Mr. Shelby, you recognize?
Yes, the speaker now, if you could identify him by name, please.
It's the...
Your name, sir?
Sir, your name, sir?
My name's Joseph Bonodono. I'm with Brick and Mortar Construction.
Okay.
I'm the owner of the property and the applicant. It does say Braulio's name here, but that's a little glitch in the system, I guess. But I did speak with Miss Vivian White, who just spoke, and I'm sure you could check the record from the first hearing. I made no reference to her support or opposition to the project. I don't know where that's come from. I did speak with her in person. I stopped by her house just to reach out and let her know that the 9-foot or 6-foot strip of land she owns adjacent to our property would not be encroached on, and we'd be respectful neighbors. She just seemed opposed to development in general, and didn't really seem like she wanted to talk very much to me. But I also spoke with Mr. Nick Clark on numerous occasions via email regarding our proposal, and I had his support up until just last week when Mr. Delano voiced his concerns, who was the other registered speaker. When Mr. Delano voiced his concerns, I believe he discussed it with Mr. Clark and brought Mr. Clark into opposition after I had his support, which is fine. I understand that everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I believe from the rooftop privacy concerns, if you do look at the plans, the rooftop terrace is meant to be a sitting area that is contained in the middle of the rooftop terraces. It's not really intended to congregate along the walls, to be, peering in other people's yards. But we would be willing to accommodate, a barrier or a blockade on the east and west side, as a barrier to not peer into Mr. Clark's yard. And then on the south side, we'd be willing to also create a barrier inside the south side wall to avoid people peering into their yards, where we could make it where they couldn't congregate along the edge of the wall, and they'd only be able to see downtown and further out. We'd be willing to do that to accommodate the neighbors' concerns of privacy. I respect their privacy, and I'm willing to offer that as an option if need be.
Any questions from the applicant? Mr. Dingfelder, you recognize?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can see a little bit where they're coming from, and if they have concerns about privacy and looking into their backyards and that sort of thing, and especially exacerbated perhaps by the rooftop issue. I think our rules are such that if you're going to make those changes, and I think those are good changes. If you're going to make those changes, we probably need to go back. Mr. Hussein can elaborate further, but we probably need to go back, have you make those changes and then come back for a future second reading. Mr. Shelby?
And Mr. Dingfelder, you had mentioned that you wanted to inquire of staff generally with regard to the rooftop. So I'd ask that you do that and talk with Mr. Hussein before closing comments and rebuttal by the petitioner.
No, I think the applicant addressed my issue about the rooftop. And I think it's good. I think it's a good change. It's a change the neighborhood wants. Well, they probably don't want any rooftop, but I think as long as we can pull those rooftop overlooks so they just look long distance and don't look straight down, then I think that's a good improvement, and I'd be willing to continue to support the application with those changes. But we would have to, Zane, we'd need to come back for a second reading, correct?
Zane?
Correct, sir. Second reading.
What is the applicant?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat that, sir? I didn't hear that clearly.
I didn't get what he said. With regard to the rooftop issue, did you hear Mr. Dingfelder and the applicant's concerns? Mr. Hussein?
Yes, sir. On the site plan, it is right now proposed at 40 feet. This was the same site plan, the same elevation as per the first site plan provided.
Oh, so, okay, well, I stand corrected, 40 feet, not 35 feet. But does,
I have a remark about that, if I may. The only part of the elevation at 40 feet is the top of the stairs that access the rooftop terrace. The height of the walls there, I believe, is right around 30 feet. The only jut out is currently the stairwell that is the rooftop of the stairwell is at 40 feet, which is a very small feature in the middle of the roof decks. Just to clarify.
appreciate the clarification. If the gentleman is amenable to those changes, then I would make a motion to continue this for however many weeks, maybe additional 2 weeks, to bring it back for second reading with the changes that have been discussed.
May I inquire just of Ms.?
You recognize, sir.
Yes, Ms. Wells, is this inappropriate for a continuation of a second read, or does it have to go back? The ordinance hasn't changed, but how logistically and procedurally, how does this come back to council? If there's a change between first, if there's a change from the original site plan?
Kate Wells, for the record, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can hear you.
Yes, this would have to be continued. Second reading would have to be continued to allow staff sufficient time to work with the applicant to get to include the revised conditions on the site plan. I would just ask for clarity of the record if staff understands the proposed conditions to be added to the site plan.
And excuse me, I'd like to clarify.
Hold on a second, sir. Mr. Stingfeldt?
I guess Kate was asking if Zane understands what the changes are, so.
Correct, and thank you, sir, and correct. We could have them put conditions on the site plan to make sure we have these changes for the next time.
I'm just concerned, there's been discussion about conditions, but if they could be repeated so that staff is clear as to the conditions to be added to the site plan with respect to the use of the rooftop terrace.
Mr. Stingfeldt?
All right, if the applicant wants to go ahead and restate the sort of shrinking of the rooftop with more specificity, go ahead.
Joe, before you...
One at a time, sir. I'll go back to the original applicant of the brick and mortar, and we'll go to you, sir, if you choose so.
Okay. Just to reiterate what I was saying, to address the neighbors' privacy concerns, on the east and west side of the rooftop terraces, we could raise the walls so they'd be higher, where it would obstruct your view from the east and west. And on the south side, which is facing downtown, we could create an interior barrier or gate, which would prohibit people from congregating along the south wall to be able to view into the neighbors' yards. And we will also point out where the rooftop terrace clearly is, which will be in an area where we won't be, obstructing anyone's privacy.
Mr. Randall, you recognize.
Thank you very much. I need some clarity. I've been agreeing with Mr. Dingfelder mentally without saying anything. However, when you start talking what we're saying, if I get it right, we're going to leave the building but the walls are going to be over 35 feet. To me, that's already an infringement on what the intent of the zoning laws regulated 35 feet. Secondly, when you move something that now you're saying you're going to shrink whatever it was to whatever it is, it's like putting a pound of something into a pound bag. Now we're going to put 1.5 pounds into a pound bag, because now you're going to say you're going to shrink it to the center of the building. To me, that's still a mental violation of the rules. In other words, some other petitioner, and I'm not speaking to you directly, sir, can come in and you said on December 30th, 2021, you did this and you approved it. And mine now is the size of a football field, and all I want is 50 yards in the center. And it's going to get used against what the principles of the ideas are of zoning. That's why I'm objecting to it now. I wasn't before, but when you scale down and you still want to have individual conversation or partnering up there just in a smaller area, is that what I'm hearing? Mr. Petitioner, is that what I'm hearing? Yes or no? I don't want to Yes or no? It's a very simple question.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Dingfelder, what is your pleasure with the petitioner not need to bring this in for Elaine?
Yeah, I mean, I think that from what I heard, the residents' main concern on the privacy issue was people looking over, off the rooftop garden into their backyards. And I believe, and it's not a final vote today. The final vote would be in a couple of weeks after we look at his revised site plan. But the petitioner is discussing a way to shrink down the rooftop area and raise the walls slightly to accommodate those privacy concerns. And so between those two adjustments, I think it's something we could look at. Merely voting for my motion today does not approve the rezoning. It merely gives this gentleman an opportunity to revisit that rooftop garden to accommodate those neighbors, and we can vote on it several weeks from now. So that's my motion is to request that he make those adjustments and we bring it back in a couple of weeks when somebody would tell me when the appropriate date would be.
Mr. Randy, you recognize.
I'm just going to say this, and I understand, or I think I do, what the intent is. And I'm not opposed to voting for this to continue to a certain time period in the next month or 2 weeks or whatever. However, if it comes back and it's more than 35 feet, I want to vote no. Because in any building that I've seen so far, if the intent of the law is 35 feet period, you go build a wall, the wall is not going to be lower than the rooftop, it's going to be higher. So right there's a violation of law. And if you're going to shrink it down, the intent of the law is for privacy and to have your scope within the building, not in the rooftop, because now you might, notice what I'm saying, might bring in individuals from the neighborhood who would have been in for against your own project. But you're the petitioner. I can't tell you what to do or not to do. That's all I'm saying, sir. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I probably led council down that improper path. Zane, what is the allowable height for this, for this proposed PD? I said 35, but obviously I misspoke because these staircases are at a higher height. So, I apologize to council for leading us down astray.
Correct. Yes, sir. As per RS50 zoning, 35 feet is the max, but as per the PD, they can go there 40 feet. If it is the decision of City Council that we want to push this to another second hearing, the applicant will just need to provide elevations and new site plan a week prior to staff so we can review if any changes, and all changes are made due to that east and west rooftop, and also to the south side rooftop. So staff can review that a week prior.
So what date would you see is comfortable for everybody?
November 4th. I'm looking at November 4th, council. I don't know if that's a day meeting, November 4th.
Okay, is the petitioner amenable to those revisions and coming back for a possible approval on November 4th, second reading?
Yes, I am. That gives us plenty of time to get the drawings submitted more than a week in advance to the city.
All right, that's my motion.
Let me say this to Dingfelder. I'm looking at faces of council members, and now with these new developments, you know, if I had to vote today on this project, it would be a downer. And even with the possible corrections, still has to go through a whole rigmarole to see if this can even be done, still may be a downer. So I just want to caution you that, you know, even with some of these changes Dingfelder is possibly talking about, it may not go through with Mr. Hussein's office to how this can be done. I think Mr. Wren has a point. If you're talking about still going up, I mean, it still may be a violation. So I just want to put a caution to you, but it's your decision, sir, what you want to do. If Mr. Dingfelder puts the motion for your continuance, I'll go with the continuance. But again, coming back, it needs to be real up and up.
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me throw this out, and I thought about this initially. You know, the other alternative is to recommend that the applicant strike the rooftop amenity completely. If you strike the rooftop amenity completely, you know, I mean, I think it's kind of nice. I've seen some townhomes that have the rooftop, you know, gardens in places where it's not intrusive on the surrounding neighbors. There's one right off the expressway down towards South Tampa, and they're pretty nice. And I can see if you live in a townhome and you want to enjoy the nice weather of October that we're having, September, October, it'd be nice to go out on the rooftop. But if it's really intrusive on the neighborhood, we could, if it's council's pleasure, we could just recommend to strike the rooftop period, and that would address the height issue, because then he doesn't need a stairwell to the top. And it would address, you know, those higher side walls and the whole that whole line of discussion. So I'm flexible. I'm a mediator. I try and work these things out.
I get it. I think from what I'm hearing, and we don't want to make people do things they might not want to do. My suggestion would be if you continue it, let the applicant decide what they're going to do with their design. If they change the whole whatever they're going to do, and then bring it back whatever they decide to do. And just putting a mandate, we want you to do this and that, and it still may not be right when it comes back to us.
Mr. Chairman, if I
You're
may.
recognized, sir.
And Ms. Wells can certainly add to this, but if it's going to be, it has to be pursuant to council's direction. Otherwise, it would have to go back to first reading, I suspect, because it would be a substantial change with a new site plan. So I guess the question ultimately, you've heard testimony. I don't believe there's any other public people, members of the public who wish to speak. So council, it is ultimately up to the petitioner to make his case for rebuttal if he has a request of council to do so, because ultimately the request for a continuance is still council's continuance, and whatever decision it makes has to be based on the record. So ultimately, if you had a question for the petitioner, Mr. Dingfelder, relative to your suggestion, I guess now would be the time before you ask.
Well, you know, I'd like to hear from the petitioner in regard to I guess there's three options on the floor. The first option is we can vote on it the way it is in front of us right now. The second option is we can tweak the rooftop areas, and the third option is we can eliminate the rooftop areas. Option B and option C would require bringing it back for second reading. Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm willing to strike the rooftops in order to move forward. There's only one issue that remains if we do that, is the stairwells would have to remain due to the air conditioning placement on the roof deck terrace. I'd be willing to strike the roof deck, and as long as we could leave the stairs so we could access the AC and not have to relocate those, and we could move forward. Otherwise, I would request a continuance for a second hearing.
Right. Okay. So I'll modify my motion. I'll strike my earlier motion. My new motion will be that the gentleman strike the habitable areas on the roof completely and bring back those drawings to us on November 4th for second reading.
A second by Mr. Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're recognized, sir. Mr. Shelby?
And that is during the day meeting, so it would be what, 9:30 a.m.? 9:30
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
I just want to be clear of staff. Is staff clear with the direction, Mr. Hussein?
Zane, you got that?
Yes, sir, I have that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
Item number 92.
Thank you so much. Zane Hussein, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 92, case REZ 21-66. This is being heard for second reading and adoption. The location is at 3002 North Woodrow Avenue. This is proposing a rezone from RS50, residential single family, to PD, planned development, residential single family detached. Site plans were dropped off to the city clerk yesterday. I'm here for any questions if needed.
Any questions of staff? Any questions of staff? Do we have an applicant?
Yes, we do. Good morning, council.
You been sworn in, sir?
Good morning. I need to be sworn, please.
All right. Clerk?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, council. Fred Henry, Domain Homes, work address 5703 South McDowell Avenue, Tampa, and I am here for any questions you may have on this, and I appreciate your time and consideration.
Questions of staff? Any questions? Do we have anybody else to speak on this item on the second floor? Do we have anybody registered to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
Second.
Mr. Maniscalco has moved to close. Mr. Dingfelder, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We go to Mr. Seatroop.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. File REZ 21-66, an ordinance be presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance rezoning the property in the general vicinity of 3002 North Woodrow Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1. From zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD planned development residential single family detached, providing an effective date.
Senator Maniscalco, roll call vote, please.
Maniscalco? Yes. Vieira?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
No.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried with Miranda voting no.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. I guess we'll open the 10 o'clock hearing, 10:30 hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Miranda has opened. Mr. Citro is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now open. Item number 93.
Yes, council. Name's Ross Salmons, Development Coordination Division. Presenting item number 93, file number VAC 21-10. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. The applicant is requesting to vacate the north and south portion of alleyway generally located at 702 West Indiana Avenue. If the clerk could please share my screen. Can council see my screen?
You blow it up for us a little bit.
Sure.
We got it. Thank you, sir.
The vacating of the north and south portion of the unimproved alleyway south of Indiana Avenue. It's also north of Ohio Avenue, west of North Boulevard, and east of Myrtle Avenue. This alley was created per the subdivision plat, North Riverside Edition number 2, and is located near Plymouth Park. The applicant owns the parcels, or a parcel of land, on the east side of the alley. The applicant reason for application is the portion of the alley is unimproved and unused, and currently there are no violations of this parcel. The existing right-of-way being requested to vacate is 1,900 square feet. It is unimproved grass and does not show any apparent use of the abutting owners. No utilities utilize this portion of the alley, and no easement reservations are required. The alley does not continue north of Indiana Avenue because it's not platted. The southern part of the north and south alley was vacated in 2017, and the east and west alley this block is not vacated. Quick view here, the applicant's property and the alleyway requested to be vacated in yellow, north and south. This is the atlas maps that the city have, and this in gray is the applicant's property, and purple here is the north and south alleyway. And also I'd like to point out the north and south alleys to the south of the current alley requested to be vacated. They are also vacated with the attached. And this is the plat that created the north and south alley. And this is the area requested to be vacated. And also I'd like to point out the east and west alley is to stay open. Quick look at the property. This is the alleyway looking south from Indiana Avenue. This is the applicant's home. This is the east and west alley looking east from Myrtle Avenue. Is not to be vacated. And again, east and west alleyway looking from North Boulevard is not to be vacated. And the applicant's looking south from Indiana Avenue. Staff have no objections to vacating requests based on responses received from reviewing agencies. If the vacating request is approved by council, no easement reservations are required. Conditions for natural resources must be included in approving ordinance. Yeah, that's all I have. If council has any questions, staff's available.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? All right, we'll hear from the applicant. You the applicant, sir? You the applicant for this item?
Yes, I'm William Nunemaker, 702 West Indiana Avenue.
All right, can we get you, raise your hand to be sworn in, sir?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so you can state your name for the record again, and you can begin. You can state your name again, and you can begin speaking, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
If you can state your name for the record, and you can begin speaking.
You're William Nunemaker, correct?
I'm William Nunemaker,
Okay.
at 702 West Indiana Avenue.
Did you have anything you wanted to add over and above what the presentation was from staff?
No, I've taken care of that property since I've lived there for 43 years.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any objections from your neighbors when you sent out the notice?
No.
All right, beautiful, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just wanted to have it part of my property again.
Got it. And you only get half. I think the other half goes to your adjacent neighbors. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Ross?
No, I wasn't understanding that.
Well,
you're supposed to get the whole 15.
I don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the city of Tampa, we don't try not to get into ownership.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Put the map up again if you would, Ross. I think it's important.
Sure.
It was part of my property before they made it an alley.
I know. Let's take a look at it. We don't want you walking away thinking, being, not understanding. And we might have to get legal to chime in on this too. So, hold on.
Okay.
This is the current plat, sir.
Okay, go back one. Go back one. Okay, so does he have lot 3 or does he have the shaded in lots?
In gray. Yes, J, I, H, G, and F.
Okay, so legal staff, isn't it correct that if that alley is vacated, that lot 3 gets half of it, and then the Mr. Nunemaker, who owns the corner, gets the other half of the alley? Isn't that correct? Legal?
No, my neighbor.
No. Legal. I'm talking to our legal department, Mr. Nunemaker. I'll give you a second.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Ron.
Ron, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Ron Wiggington, Legal Department. Yes, sir, Councilman Dingfelder. Generally, you are correct. However, it depends on the plat. And Ross, if you can go back to the plat.
Sure.
Please. There you go. So this particular plat only deals with those properties that are listed there. So in this case, the alleyway is part of the North Riverside Addition Number 2 plat. So therefore, he would have the entire alleyway. There must be another plat to the west of that. That would include the other property, which I think is lot number 3 on the prior picture.
Okay, beautiful. Well, that's an unusual situation, but I stand corrected again. So, all right, going back to Mr. Nunemaker. Mr. Nunemaker, you are totally correct. You get the entire alley if this petition is approved. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
sir.
I've never seen that, but I guess he's right, but I've never seen that in all my years.
All right, do we have anybody else to speak on this item? We have
No.
anybody else on the second floor to speak on this item?
No, I
No,
was just,
not talking to you, sir, not talking to you. Do we have anybody else in opposition to speak on this item?
I have no one registered.
Anybody register, no register? Okay, all right. Move to close. Mr. Miranda moved to close. Mr. Scalco was seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we are at Mr. Citro. No, Mr. Dingford.
Sure. Okay, in regard to item 93, file number VAC 21-10, I'll move the following ordinance for first reading consideration. An ordinance vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning a portion of a right-of-way, alleyway located south of Indiana Avenue, north of Ohio Avenue, east of Myrtle Avenue, and west of North Boulevard within the plat of North Riverside Addition Number 2, a subdivision in the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 1 hereof, subject to certain covenants, conditions, and restrictions as more particularly set forth herein, providing an effective date.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Dingford's moved it, seconded by Mr. Miranda. Roll call vote.
Vieira. Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
No.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
And Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried with Carlson voting no, Vieira being absent at vote. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 21st, 2021 at 9:30 a.m.
Mr. Nunemaker, the second reading on this, which will make it final if we continue to vote that way, will be October 21st at 9:30 in the morning. Okay?
okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right, item number 94.
Good morning, City Council. Kamaria Pettis-Knuckle from the City Attorney's Office. This item number 94, I apologize, is before you on a petition seeking review of a variance review board decision made during its meeting on April 13th of 2021. Shelby is passing out the hearing procedures for today's hearing as well as sample motions. I've also provided City Council Code Section 27-80, which is the hardship criteria that the applicant must approve before City Council this morning. Pursuant to Code Section 27-61, subsection J2, City Council applies a de novo standard of review. Your decision is not limited to the record created during the BRB hearing. Instead, you can take public testimony, accept new evidence, and make a decision based upon the application meeting the hardship criteria in Section 27-80. The materials attached to the agenda item include the initial application for the variance, the staff report, the variance review board's written decision, the petition for review, and an affidavit establishing compliance with the notice requirements. The application filed with the variance review board requested the following variance: to increase the height of the detached accessory structure from 15 feet to 25 feet pursuant to Section 27-290. After considering all the evidence introduced into the record of today's hearing, City Council may affirm the variance review board's decision to approve the variance with or without condition. Council may overturn the variance review board's decision and deny the variance request, or council may remand this case back to the variance review board with direction for the board to consider. With that, I will turn the presentation over to Ms. Anastasia Barnes, and I'm available to answer any questions if you may have.
Mr. Chairman.
You recognize Mr. Shelby.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a quick item before we begin. With regard to Any ex parte communications that have been made or received relative to this, I would ask they be disclosed at this point, and anything in writing, I'd ask that be received and filed into the record. Is there any disclosure? Just a motion to receive and file, please.
Motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Mr. Moran, let's move. Mr. Maniscalco, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, counsel.
Who's speaking first? Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
All right,
Development Coordination, Annie Barnes. Can I share my screen, please?
And, Mr. Chair, if I may, if the witnesses can please be sworn in.
All right, we'll swear about it at the same time. Raise your hands, please, gentlemen.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Barnes, you may continue.
Great, thank you. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Okay, great. Oh. Apologies.
All right, you can just blow it up for us. We should be good to go.
There we go. All right. Again, item number 94 is a petition filed by Ron Fair regarding the decision of the Variance Review Board, VRB 2125, for property located at 3305 West Lakes Avenue. The property owner is Thomas Buckingham, and the zoning is RS 100. The approved variance was to increase allowable accessory structure height from 15 feet to 25 feet for the construction of a two-story accessory structure. Again, the Variance Review Board bases their decisions on Section 2780. The Variance Review Board heard the case on April 13th, 2021, and after testimony approved the request 6-0. Here is an aerial map of the subject property with surrounding zoning. As you can see, it's residential in nature. Shown here is a survey provided by the applicant and a site plan provided by the applicant showing the proposed accessory structure. These were the elevations provided for the accessory structure. These are exterior pictures of the property, as well as surrounding property in the neighborhood. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? All right, we'll hear from the applicant.
Good morning. My name is Fred Mills. I'm an attorney, and sitting to my right is the applicant Ron, or the petitioner Ron Fair. We are actually requesting that of the remedies that were mentioned earlier, that the decision of the board be overturned. There was absolutely no compliance with the city code itself. The actual code reads that accessory structures shall not exceed 15 feet in height, comma, unless, and then it gives two exceptions, that the structure is located in a national or local historic district, which neither one of those apply. In this particular circumstances, the hardship was not met. It had a simple box that checked that said yes. The discussion was that there was a pre-existing structure there that had been removed, and they were just building it back, which is in fact not true. There was nothing presented to show what was previously there. There was no height. This was limited to 15 feet. Even if either of these exceptions, which was the national or local historic district, applied, they would be allowed to go to 50%. So you would have the 15 plus another 7.5, which would be a maximum of 22.5 if it applied, but it didn't apply. Mr. Fair was present. He walked through all of these items, and they don't meet. It's clearly a detached structure. There are other ways that it can be remedied. It has a full, although the plans show quote unquote storage for the second, or a bonus room for the second floor. It's got a full bathroom. It is basically a second structure. So the code was set up for many reasons, some of which is if you have residential single-family homes, that they remain single-family homes. This is not an attached structure, it's a detached structure. In addition, it's got a full bathroom on the first floor, air conditioning throughout. We would propose that there's no difference whether you have a multifamily structure that's adjacent to its side, you split it front, back, just because it's behind it does not necessarily mean that it is a detached garage. Once the permits, it goes to 25 feet. Mr. Fair himself lives within 2 houses of this property. He went through this process to build his garage. He was told absolutely no way could a detached garage of this by Abby Freely prior to the construction at his house at 3127 West Oakland. He had to re-engineer, do everything else for those plans in order to construct it as an attached garage so that it fell within the single-family residential zoning that it had. In this particular case, none of those hardships were met. Nothing was met. It was approved. I mean, we really feel what's the purpose of having the code if in fact it's going to be just blatantly disregarded. The code is there for any number of reasons. It's not just the zoning, fire code, anything that takes into account when you're talking about building additional structures on the property. We would request that it be overturned and denied.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Chair. That's these folks are the ones who filed the petition to get the case reversed. And who would be up next, Mr. Shelby?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, that was the presentation by the aggrieved person.
Exactly. Yes, the aggrieved person. So.
So here's the applicant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. No, wait. No, there's a clarification. I think Ms. Pettis-Mackle needs to make the clarification so the council is very clear as to the order and the presentation that she's prepared. Ms. Pettis-Mackle, would you please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just for a point of clarification, Mr. Fair is the petitioner for the petition for review. The property owner is, he is present, and I believe Mr. Randolph is there to represent the property owner, but the aggrieved person is the petitioner for the petition for review. He's already finished his presentation.
All right, we got to go back and reverse order to the applicant will be Mr. Randolph. Correct? So we got to go back.
Mr. Randolph represents the property owner.
Yes.
So we heard from the petitioner, which is item 5. Next, we're going to hear from the property owner, item 6.
Thank you.
The aggrieved person thing got a little confused because if you look at the agenda flips it around. So anyway.
All right, so.
Wait, Mr. Chairman.
You're right.
And sorry, forgive me for saying this, and if there's something I speak out of turn here, Ms. Pettis-Mackle, correct me. But an aggrieved person is not necessarily an opponent. An aggrieved person who has standing to bring review on a decision of a lower board. And that's what happened in this case. And by definition, that on that basis is what gives them standing to be able to request a review. Am I correct on this, Ms. Pettis-Mackle? Or did I state something that's incorrect? I want to make sure.
That's correct. Mr. Fair is the petition, filed the petition for review because he is an aggrieved person.
Right,
Thank you.
So as I look at this form here, we put the cart before the horse, so we need to go back to the applicant / petitioner, correct? Or no?
No.
All right.
No. You can go on to Mr. Randolph, who represents the property owner who filed the underlying variance, the application with the variance review board.
All right. Thank you so much for that clarification. Mr. Grandal, you recognize.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
And members of the City Council. My name is John Grandoff. My address is Suite 3700 Bank of America Plaza. And I have the pleasure of representing Mr. Thomas Buckingham. And I'm also joined by his daughter, Maggie Christie, who is behind me. Maggie, will you raise your hand, please? If I may set the stage for you for a moment, the variance was filed by the Buckinghams by Mr. Zadok Mills, who was their general contractor. The variance was approved 6-0. Mr. Fair appealed that approval, which is before you this morning. I am here to request that you affirm the variance, which was granted 6-0. Ms. Mackle, would you please confirm the time that I have available for my argument?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. According to the proposed rules of procedure that I provided, I proposed the property owner to have 15 minutes.
Okay.
But you don't need to take it all, Mr. Graham.
I will be very brief. Okay, what I'd like to start with first is the variance was approved 6-0, and what's important about that is the motion for approval was made by Mr. Dustin Pasteur, who was appointed by you to the Variance Review Board. Now, why is that significant? Mr. Pasteur is an AIA architect, and he made the motion for approval. He happens to be the chief architect of Tampa General Hospital. His motion found that the variance was in harmony with the neighborhood. And that is very important because this is a gentleman with specific knowledge making a motion for approval. The motion passes 6-0. Speaking of an aggrieved person, this is the, let me try and get this for you the best I can.
Here comes your house.
Here you go.
Yeah, okay.
All right. This is the Buckingham property. Mr. Fair lives here just inside the 250-foot mark. He's in a separate plat of Parkland Estates. His zoning is RS 75. This is a different plat. This is Gulfview Estates. The zoning is RS 100. This is a new home that's going up. I'll talk about that in a moment. This is the Solner property, the Molinari property, the Brandywee property. The Armas property is just immediately to the south. Now, what's significant about that? The Molinaris have issued a letter of approval. The Brandewees have issued a letter of approval. The Solners have issued a letter of approval on all three sides of the house and across the street, the Armas property. What you have is a letter that Maggie crafted with my assistance explaining her request, and each of these neighbors confirming approval. Basically speaking, they're finding that the application was in harmony with the neighborhood. Let's go on the property for a moment. Let's look at a couple things. This is Mr. Fair's home with his attached garage at 27 feet, 11 inches. In fact, Mr. Fair is a professional engineer and was probably intimately involved in the preparation of these plans for his home. This is Mr. Fair's western elevation. This is the way he would be looking towards my client's property. Talking about aggrieved person. Is Mr. Fair truly aggrieved? This is the view from Mr. Fair's front yard. The detached garage will be back here, or again, 2 lots back. I'm moving towards Lincoln Avenue. This is from across the street from Mr. Fair.
Mr. Granoff, with the limited time that you have, if I could just ask you one thing.
Sure.
We're not here on a question of standing. Mr. Fair has standing, otherwise
Correct.
you'd be objecting to it.
Correct.
But we're here on the question of hardship. As Mr. Citro and I served many, many years on the VRB, you have the 5 basic hardship questions. Unfortunately, when I look at the application, the answers that were originally given on the application to the hardships say yes, okay, no, okay, okay. Not a lot of elaboration. We weren't privy to the deliberations of the VRB and the explanation. So if you could just focus on the hardship criteria, I think it'd be fantastic.
Okay, well, I will do so. I'm going to take you to the...
And you are allowed de novo evidence, according to Mr. Shelby.
Yes, and now this is, now we're looking to the rear of the Buckingham property. What's significant is the tree there. And here's another view of the tree. This is the Molinari property, who is not objecting to the application. Here's the tree. And here is the view from the front of the Buckingham property. Now, why is the tree significant? Pardon me for a moment. The previous detached structure was built in 1925. It was 18 and a half feet. Pre-zoning, it was demolished. They're going to build this new structure at 23.5 feet on the same footprint. They cannot move to the east or the west because they're hemmed in by that tree. And they cannot move to the east because they are hemmed in by the existing pool. Here's the boundary survey.
Mr. Chairman, if we could have that brought up, please.
Mr. Mills said there was nothing in the record explaining the location of the previous structure. That's incorrect. This was the previous structure. Here's the tree that I just showed you. Here's the site plan that Mr. Mills prepared. Again, there's the tree. Here's the replacement structure. Bowed out a little bit right here. Here's the pool. They cannot move east. They cannot move west. They can only go up. That is a hardship with the property. The Molinaris live here. The Brandewies live here. Rick Sollner lives here. No objection. Mr. Fair lives on the other side of Lincoln Street on another plat in another zoning district. Now, Mr. Mills, the general contractor.
Could you repeat that again, sir?
Mr. Fair, who is objecting, lives on the other side of Lincoln in a different subdivision in a different zoning. He's in Parkland Estates. His zoning is RS75. This property is in Gulfview Estates, RS100. He's completely different property character. These are to prove harmony with the neighborhood. Let me pause for a moment. Do you have any questions about the hardship proof that I've just placed in the record?
Well, it'd be nice if you marched through all 5 of them.
I will.
With some detail.
I will.
Pardon me for a moment? I don't think the opinions of the neighbors is one of the hardships.
No, it's not. It certainly is not. But it is part of the criteria. Pardon me for a second. I need to locate the code. Here's the code.
You need to stay in front of the microphone, John.
I'm sorry. Here's the code. Okay. Now, what's important is section, the applicant, Mr. Fair, has to be an aggrieved person, which is an applicant or any owner within 250 feet of the subject property. He's an aggrieved person. But he's got to prove there's some harm here. Now, let's get into the criteria, which we all know and love. Pardon me for a second. Number 1, alleged hardships are unique and singular with respect to the property and not suffered in common with those of other properties. You had a non-conforming structure demolished. You have the tree I've shown. I've shown you the spatial characteristics of the layout of the property. To go east or west is impossible based upon those constrictions. That's unique. Number 2, hardship does not result from actions of the applicant. They do not. The tree exists there. They have a non-conforming garage that was decrepit and is being removed and replaced. They simply want to raise it to 23 and a half feet. Number 3, the variance if granted will not substantially interfere with or injure the health, safety, and welfare of others. The 3 neighbors who do not object, how is Mr. Fair on the other side of the street being substantially interfered with? He did not demonstrate that at the hearing. He basically said, I don't like it, take it down. This morning, he now complains to you about the process he had to go through to build his structure. Who cares? That has nothing to do with the case. Number 4, this is these pictures. This is Dustin Pasteur's motion. The variance is in harmony with and serves the general intent and purpose of this chapter and the adopted comprehensive plan. That was his finding. These are several houses in the Gulfview plat with detached structures which exceed the 15-foot limitation. Number 5, finally, Both public benefits are intended to be secured by this chapter. There will be substantial justice done, and the individual hardships or practical difficulties that will be suffered due to the failure of the board to grant a variance. If you have a non-conforming 18.5-foot decrepit garage that you demolish, it is punitive to require that garage to now be built at 15 feet when you've demonstrated the hardships that we put in evidence this morning. I will summarize in a moment. Let me look at my notes. Mr. Fair put into evidence at the hearing that this was a 66% increase. That's erroneous because my client had the right to continue the 18.5-foot garage. He's measuring 15 feet to 25 feet, which is 66%. This is 18.5 feet to 25 feet. My client's going to build the building at 23.5 feet. That's about a 35% increase with 3 neighbors on all 3 sides, no objections. That testimony was incompetent and was unsubstantial and did not support anything close to a motion for denial. Again, remember Mr. Dustin Pasteur's motion, finding of harmony in consideration of the hardships which my clients had shown. I respectfully request that you affirm the decision that was granted by your variance review board by 6-0. I remain available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Grando? Mr. Dean.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Randolph. I appreciate you honing in on the hardship criteria because obviously that's the most critical part. So put up the site plan if you could, one more second, Mr. Randolph.
Just a moment. Somewhere around here. Okay, this is the, yes. Here's the site plan prepared by Zadok Mills, who was the general contractor presenting the application.
All right. So the 2 things that she's looking for is a garage, looks like probably a double garage, on the same footprint that she had before, and some type of living area above. I assume a little guest area or a playroom or.
She has young children, playroom.
Right. So, and that's not unusual. But in this particular zoning district, it's not allowed as a matter of right. That's why people have to come in for a variance. So the question is, could those 2 structures be built at the allowable height within that existing footprint? So in other words, could you push the garage up there toward, I assume that's, well, which way, is she on Lincoln Street or is she on the other?
Here's the home.
Oh, okay. You know, could it be put somewhere else, you know, near there, you know, so the garage is 1 story and the additional home, the additional playroom or whatever she wants for the kids is on 1 story and everything stays within the code. If not, then you're saying it has to be 2-story.
I'll venture a guess on that. I don't think the fire regulations would allow that because the structures would be too close together.
Okay, so you're saying because of the tree, there's nowhere to move that garage closer up toward the tree, right. And therefore there's no space for that additional square footage.
It's a grand tree, and then they have their existing swimming pool here also, so you can't go east, you can't go west.
All right, we're having trouble hearing you, but
I'm sorry. Yes, let me point. The tree is here. It's a grand tree. I showed you a picture of it. So they can't go east and keep it at 15 feet. The pool is here. Can't go west. Cannot go east. No.
And somebody has testified factually that the prior structure was how tall?
18.5 feet.
And she's looking for an additional 4 or 5 feet.
5 feet, which is there's the previous structure. I mean, it's literally on the footprint. Now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Grando?
Mr. Grando, and maybe this is a staff question, but maybe you could answer it also. You testified about the AI architect who made the motion.
Mm-hmm.
When that variance review board met, did they have the benefit of the aggrieved party's testimony? Did they hear the same arguments that we heard a little while ago from the aggrieved party?
Yes, I've watched the tape of it.
They did? Okay, thank you.
But you just said I didn't like it.
Any other questions? All right, well, I guess we go back to the applicant/petitioner.
Yes, thank you. A couple things that Mr.
You're
Randolph
recognized,
said.
Mr. Shelby.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Counsel, if you look at the process, I don't believe, the only testimony I believe were the attorneys. The question I have is, did we want to go then to public comment and then have periods of rebuttal? How does this work? Ms. Pettis-Matter, could we ask Ms. Pettis-Matter just to confirm with the process now?
Maria Pettis-Matter from the City Attorney's Office. I don't know if the councils would like to cross-examine any witnesses, but both councils presented, advocated for their clients, so there were no additional witnesses that were presented. But item number 7, 8 is the process that the petitioner and the property owner can participate in if there are any witness to cross-examination. That's why I provided that process. But if they do not want to utilize that process, I'd ask to see if there are any additional members of the public would like to comment on this.
Does either side want to comment further? Cross-examination?
No.
We do not wish to cross-examination.
All right.
No.
Anybody from the public? Anybody in the public to hear on this item? If anybody in the public speak on this item?
I have no one registered.
No one is registered. All right. Final rebuttal. Applicant.
All right, Fred Mills, a couple points that Mr. Randolph made that I would like to address. I basically earlier stated that there was no evidence, and I will again repeat that, at the initial hearing as to what the prior structure was. Today, there was a discussion that I was at 18 feet, then it went to 18 and a half. So there's two different comments made. The comment today was that it was a non-conforming structure that was built in 1925. That was not, and you can listen to tape, in the prior hearing. In fact, the building had been removed. So my comment earlier was that the building would have already been removed, so there was no evidence as to what was there prior. The statement was that they were building back what was previously there. The comment with regard to the petition, all we can do is appeal the petition that was actually filed by the homeowner. And in that petition, they applied to go from 15 to 25 feet. There was no mention of any other structures. There was no other mention of any other height of the structure. So when Mr. Fair appealed and put that there was a 66% exceedance of the ordinance. So the ordinance is written that it's a max of the 15 feet. It then allows, if they fall within a certain criteria, which neither one of those criteria were addressed by council, because it is not, whether it is Gulfview Estates or Parkland Estates, the property was determined and stated to be in Gulfview. It is not a national or a local historic district. The same code applies to both subdivisions. It doesn't matter that one is one and one is the other. So in this particular case, the maximum, even if it was within a national or local, would have been 22 and a half. So the statement today that it was 18 and a half and that they should be entitled to the half of that, or the way that was calculated, that Mr. Fair's calculations were wrong, is in fact incorrect, because we're appealing their petition and the vote that was on there. When they walked through the hardships that was there, even the discussion as to what Mr. Fair would or would not see is immaterial. The only material point was when they drew the radius of it, Mr. Fair was a noticed party, he's within it, he's established the standing. To demonstrate or to show Mr. Fair's structures is actually immaterial to the hearing that's today. The compliance, so as they went through the hardships, there are many other things that can be explored. And so Mr. Fair made the point at the hearing, would make it again today, that with engineering and with redesigning, you can try to comply with the code that applies to everybody. Otherwise, there's no sense in having the code. So in this particular case, just having stated, I got a tree to this side, I got a pool to this side, my only way to do it is to go up. Well, to go up, what about you just comply with the code and you don't go up? What about if you do what was required of Mr. Fair on his property, to go back to the drawing board, go back to your engineers, go back to your contractor, go back through the process and comply with the terms as enumerated within the code? That's what we're asking for. We didn't hear anything today that stated that they would comply with the code, and the hardship doesn't get them to the point of the 25 feet that was requested, nor do they qualify as a national or a local historic district. So again, we would ask that it would be overturned and not. That's it.
All right. So we close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Mr. Dingfelder has closed it. I think Mr. Vera is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Miranda.
I have nothing else to say other than I'm hearing both sides, and I believe when this happened, that we extended to someone who didn't like something many years ago to complain with 250 feet. If I saw the map, yes, he qualifies for that, but I think only the portion of the property was in with 250 feet. And I believe I voted against way back, and I'm not trying to sway anyone's opinion, that this was not going to be acceptable for me when I was a council member many years ago. So I just, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Mr. Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you're looking for a motion to move this along, I'll be glad to make one. I'm going to move to affirm the VRB's decision to approve the variance request in application VRB 2125, because I do believe the property owner has demonstrated that the petition meets the hardship criteria in section 27-80. Specifically, I'm going to walk through I'm going to walk through these briefly, just so it's a matter of record since it is contested. The first one says the alleged hardships or practical difficulties are unique and singular with respect to the property or with respect to the structure or building thereon, and not suffered in common with other properties, structures, or buildings similarly located. That's usually the most critical issue that the VRB addresses. And in this case, the testimony, uncontroverted, is that there's a grand tree there, which we all know takes up a lot of space. And the testimony that we heard was that that a garage with a little playroom could not be located on a first floor, one level area anywhere else. The second part of it, hardship or practical difficulty, does not result from the actions of the applicant. Self-created hardship shall not justify a variance. There's been no evidence that this was self-created. The evidence was to the contrary. The original structure was an old structure that needed to get taken down because it was dilapidated. The third factor, if granted, the variance will not substantially interfere or injure with the health, safety, or welfare of others. Mr. Grandolph put on some testimony that the immediately surrounding neighbors were in favor of it, although Mr. Fair is not. So that's sort of a balancing act. Number 4, I think Mr. Pasteur did answer that because he is a very well-established architect in the community, that the construction proposed is in harmony and serves the general intent of the chapter and the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And number 5, that the allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, etc. This really goes to the equities of the situation. I think, in my opinion, number 5 can be answered by the fact that this is not a brand new opportunity for this property owner. This is a replacement structure. And the fact that it's an additional 4 or 5 feet taller, I don't think creates any substantial injustice to anybody in the neighborhood. We're all familiar with that neighborhood. Many of the homes in that neighborhood have 2-car garages with playrooms and offices above them. I don't think that's unusual for that neighborhood, and therefore I think they meet all 5 of the criteria.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Miranda. Roll call vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I have a few decisions we need to make very quickly.
Thanks, sir.
I've been instructed that item number 95 has about maybe 10 to 12 speakers.
Thank you for your time,
downstairs.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that we may look to hold off on that because I look at the time now, we're not going to get to 12 speakers and applicants in opposition. Item number 96 will not be heard today. So make a motion, move that.
Move to strike that?
Yep.
Second.
Mr. Dingfelder moved it. Mr. Michelle seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have about 3 staff reports because this morning we released folks already because we have sufficient evidence already. I'd like to move those 3 staff reports up and maybe we can get those out of the way by 12:15 to 12:30 and then handle this hearing with the multitude of people that are speaking on item number 95. Mr. Shelby, you recognize.
I'm just, for the purposes of the people who are here, scheduled for a 10:30 meeting, the question is, what time do you believe that the hearing or council would reconvene so that they can plan accordingly?
Looking at the calendar, looking at the schedule right now, I believe I can get these three possible 4 staff items done by 12:30, and we can reconvene with them at 1:30, possibly 2 o'clock.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, the question is, I'm just concerned.
2 o'clock, sir.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
And Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I'm usually good as long as you want me, but today I have an appointment right at noon, so I've got it bolted about 5 of. So I apologize. You do anything you want to do.
Why don't we break for lunch until, I don't know, 1:15 and then come back with the staff reports? I don't think they take more than 15 minutes and then go into that item number 95 and it would accommodate.
If that's council's pleasure.
Fine with me.
All right, so you want to break now, you said, Mr. Maniscalco? Can we come back at 1:15? That's your pleasure?
But could we, Mr. Chair, could we start with the one with the people waiting at 1:15?
So
Do we
what
have to
people
do
are
staff
waiting
reports
for.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, the staff is already.
All right, okay, well, that's council's pleasure. I usually like to get staff out of the way, but, okay, we'll go ahead and get it cracking this time, and we'll bring them up first.
So then, so it's clear for the people on the second floor.
1:15.
Mr. Chairman, council will take a lunch recess now, and you will reconvene with
1:15.
number 95.
95.
Number 95 at 1:15.
1:15.
Thank you.
Good job.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Baby, they call me.